Hi there, I'm Kristin. Welcome to my channel, From Chronic Fatigue to Chronic Abundance. This is my weekly live Q&A every Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern. I show up to answer your questions about what it's like living with severe chronic fatigue and how to live better, even while you are still looking for answers and still on your healing journey. Because you know what? As hard as things are right now, while you're living with severe chronic fatigue, whatever the cause, whether you've been diagnosed with something like ME/CFS or Lyme's disease or Hashimoto's or lupus or fibromyalgia, whatever the cause, or even if you don't have a diagnosis yet, if you have the symptom of severe chronic fatigue, your life can get better and you can start saving energy a little bit every day, even without any answers from doctors or blood work. And the way we do that is through our mindset. Now, I'm not saying your health issues or your symptoms are in your head. They are not. But every single person alive, healthy or sick, our energy levels are influenced by our mindsets. And when we have severe chronic fatigue, every tiny little bit of energy that we can save is a really big help to us. Those little tiny bits of energy that are saved by the right mindset are much more noticeable when you have severe chronic fatigue as a symptom as opposed to when you're a healthy, normal person, okay? But in either way, the same principles apply and it helps the same amount. It's just a bigger impact when you have really severe health issues, all right? So the right mindset is going to help you save energy in a few ways. And before we go into those, I want to say hi to whoever hopped on. It'd be great if you said hi in the chat box over here and go ahead and start typing up your questions. I will answer them in the order that they come in. No question is too big or too small or too silly or too serious or too anything, as long as it has to do with life with really severe chronic fatigue. We talk about it all, the biggest challenges, the little annoyances, day-to-day challenges. It's all fair game. So I was going to tell you about the, what was it? I totally lost my train of thought. I was going to tell you how the right mindset can help us save energy while we still have severe chronic fatigue as a symptom. So it does that in a few ways. One is that it helps us. Oh, hi, Anna. It helps us stop wasting energy on heavy emotions that rob us of our energy. Things like frustration and despair and feeling guilty and feeling ashamed are really, really heavy emotions. And it's totally normal and healthy and natural to feel these emotions from time to time. The problem is when we dwell on them for too long, and then they start robbing us of our energy instead of being information about how to change our situation or the way we're living our lives. And real quick, I want to say that it's not saying that you shouldn't feel guilty, and it's not saying that you're wrong for feeling guilty. It's just saying that, like, okay, we can feel guilty in our lives, and then we can take that information that the guilt is actually sharing with us, and then we can turn that around and instead choose to not dwell on the guilt, and we can instead choose to focus our energy on other areas of life that actually give back to us, all right? Guilt is normal and healthy. The problem is when we spend our time dwelling in those emotions, even if they're justified, which they always are. Another way that the healing mindset helps us save energy is by teaching us how to spend more of our time in those lighter emotions that give us more energy. Emotions like happiness and gratitude. The more time we spend in those, the more energy we're going to have left over at the end of the day. Okay, and these are all small differences, but when your energy is as limited as it is right now, you're going to feel the difference. Hi, Nika. Hi, Lisa. Hi, everybody. Let me think here. Yeah, so those are the two big ways in which the healing mindset helps with our energy. It helps us stop wasting energy, and then also helps us save a little bit more and generate a little bit more energy every day. It's great. Okay, first question in from Anna. Let's see. Anna says, what if you feel like you're in a crash cycle because you haven't pushed yourself for 2 months You stay in bed, you only do super necessary things, and you still feel a little bit worse every week. All right, so there can be a number of things going on here. I mean, big picture, it means that there's something going on that still needs to be discovered. There's something going on that we still need to figure out. And it may be something that you need help from a doctor to find, and it may be something that you can have some influence over on your own. And obviously, the doctor thing is going to be a really hard one because you need the right doctor. They need to be doing the right blood work in order to find out what's going on with you. And most doctors are not trained on that sort of thing. You need to find someone who is. Like the healing mindset isn't able to stop all physical problems that are happening if something has gone wrong. It can help your experience through them, and it can help keep you motivated to keep going through these hard times, but it's not necessarily going to stop every physical problem. So, maybe that's what it is. And hopefully with your new doctor, Anna, and the new blood work being done and the new treatments, hopefully you come across that. If it is a thing physically, hopefully you come across that and the degradation stops. Let's see. What it could also mean is that even though you're physically resting, there can be an element of mental and emotional activity that is draining to us and can be robbing us of our energy. And it can be really hard to find, because I know for myself, it took me a very long time to realize how much of my own mental and emotional energy I was draining on a daily basis because of my mindset and because of the way I was living my life. I didn't know what it felt like to truly be relaxed and to truly be conserving my energy mentally and physically. I had been living my life from a place of always feeling a certain amount of instability in my life, feeling like I couldn't trust the people around me, feeling like I couldn't trust my own body. And that lack of feeling of safety and the lack of stability inherently is exhausting and tiring to the brain, because it's always on guard. My brain and my emotions were always afraid of a threat and always seeking to protect myself from the next attack, because I was in a toxic relationship, because I had friends who weren't really friends and were bailing on me in my time of life when I needed it most. And because I had family members who didn't understand what was going on, and there was doubt and speculation about what was really happening. Because my financial situation was so uncertain, because I had to leave my job. All of those things continued to eat away at my energy and continued to contribute to my illness. They didn't cause it all, but they contributed to it. They were a factor. And it wasn't until I began meditation and learned to re-identify with the observer within, not the things that I do, but just the person doing the deciding of what to do, my internal values, my internal value system. Once I learned to identify with that inner part of me and not focus on what I was doing, that helped me start to develop some self-care, like just caring about myself fundamentally. And that combined with like developing the healing mindset actually helped me grow my self-confidence and my ability to take care of myself. And it helped me calm down mentally and emotionally, because having that confidence in myself, and even though I was still extremely ill, and I was going through that cycle of getting more ill, even though that had really slowed down and maybe even plateaued for a long time, I was still very ill. And while I was in that ill place, by connecting with myself in the right way, I was able to increase my own confidence in being able to deal this and overcome it. And I'm pausing when I say these things because I'm afraid that they're not going to connect. I know it sounds very nice and with a bow on it when I say it, but it's a hard thing to do. It doesn't come naturally. If it did, we'd already be living our lives that way. And I'm not saying that this is what's happening, Anna. I don't know enough about your situation, But I'm putting this out there as something that could be contributing because it was something that definitely contributed to my illness. And I've talked a little bit about my history being one where for most of my life, I didn't feel safe or accepted or like I was in a place I could just fully relax and be myself. From almost my entire life, I felt like I needed to perform, like I needed to hide my wants and needs, like I was inherently unworthy and unlikable, and then I had to perform to get any sort of human connection with others. But there are a lot of people who grew up in very happy, very stable households where they were given nothing but the love and support that they need, who can still end up feeling in these places of inherent instability for a host of different reasons. So it can happen to anyone, and especially after we've gone through these health issues and our body seems to be falling apart. It can create within us an inherent distrust of our bodies, and an inherent distrust of our bodies creates that fractured instability mentally and emotionally for us well, which can be really draining. And all right, I think what I ultimately want to say here is that to discover if this emotional, mental instability is something that's driving more fatigue and robbing you of more of your energy, if it's a factor in what you're experiencing, I would start working on, how do you see your body? Do you see your body as your partner in life? And are you going to stand there by its side and partner with it, even when it's going through a really hard time? Obviously, something's going wrong with our bodies when we feel like this. Or do you see your body right now as a foreign entity, or as an enemy, or as something you just don't understand but doesn't seem like it's on your side? Like, what's your relationship with your body? And if you don't feel completely wholly connected to and in partnership with your body, even now while it's going through all this, especially now while it's going through all this, I would really, really start to work on that. I think the meditations are really great for that. And I do have a plan to get those edited, to get them so you can just like play the video and get into the meditation instead of having to watch like a bunch of other stuff. For me, what really helped me connect to my body more was affirmation, saying things like my body is my partner, over and over again, or writing it over and over again. Also, a lot of the time, just sitting in the mirror, looking at myself and expressing gratitude for what my body still could do for me. Expressing gratitude for my legs, that when I had the energy, they could take me places. Expressing gratitude for my digestive tract, for taking in the nutrients from all the supplements I was taking. Giving gratitude to my brain for continuing to try to work so hard, even when the brain fog was really bad. So like taking that time to really connect into your body and create a partnership with your body again is going to be stabilizing to your experience while you're living with this, and is going to, and could help you create more long-term energy, and could help minimize the downward experience you're having, provided that there isn't something else going on medically that can't be overcome by mindset alone. And maybe that's an unsatisfying answer, because we all want that thing that's going to make it all better. But the whole point is that it's not that simple. If it were that simple, we would have figured out as a community what needs to be done now. We'd have that information out there and everybody would be doing it and everybody would get better. But it's complex. There's a lot of factors. And without having like a whole picture of like all of your blood work, and I was gonna say, even without understanding your social dynamic, which isn't even enough information, like how we relate to ourselves internally, something no one else can ever see or ever know, is really crucially, fundamentally important when we're going through a health issue like this. Okay, I'm going to leave it on that note for right now. I'm going to catch up in the chat box. Lisa says she's noticed over the past year and a half that she seems to be cycling every 2 to 3 months. She's okayish and she crashes. So, all right, Lisa, my question to you is like, is it something that you do that you crash, or does it really truly come out of the blue? I know for me, I'm not saying you're doing this, but I know one thing I used to do is that I would be really good about resting enough and avoiding crashes. And then after like maybe a couple months, I would just start feeling rebellious. I would just get so tired of being so good that I would just go do something I knew I shouldn't, and I would crash because of it. And I'd be like, oh man, I know better than this. What did I do? But it became almost like freedom is really, really important to me. And I have a core value of freedom to choose what I do with my life. And when I was living so limited all the time, that core need of freedom wasn't being met because I was used to expressing and experiencing freedom and doing lots of things, right? And what helped me was to reframe how I could meet that core value, that core need of freedom. And instead of seeing freedom as being able to do whatever I want, I started seeing freedom as, how do I want to say this? Stop being about doing what I want to do. And it started to be more about empowering myself to realize that I have the freedom to feel any way that I want to feel moment to moment. This isn't to say that I'm 100% good at this. I'm not. But it became more about saying like, okay, I feel really frustrated. Like it became about hitting that point where I start to feel rebellious. And I seeing that rebellion and knowing where that leads, saying like, okay, I feel rebellious. I'm going to do something that's too much. I'm going to crash. And then I'm going to regret it because it wouldn't have been worth it. Sometimes it's worth crashing. Sometimes there are big enough life events we don't want to miss out on. Or sometimes we need to get out of a bad situation, and it can be worth the crash that follows that event. But these rebellious little things were never worth the crash, and they just put my recovery journey back a few steps. So I would see that rebellious voice in me. I would recognize it, and I would say, yeah, you know what? I would acknowledge that, like, I want to feel free to do whatever I want right now. I want to feel free to do anything in the world. I'm so tired of being limited, and I'm tired of living life so small. And I would flip that, and I would say, okay, I know that's what I want, but instead I'm going to choose to focus on feeling good about myself right now. I'm going to stop focusing on the limitations in my life, and I'm going to start focusing on what I can do. I'm going to start focusing on the fact that, you know what, I'm better than I was a year ago. Or that wasn't always true. I mean, I guess I want to take examples from when I was still really, really sick, because those are probably more relatable to you. So if I were still really, really, really sick and I was feeling that rebellious itch coming on, and I wanted to focus on the freedom to feel how I wanted to feel, what I hope I would have done is instead focus on the fact that I get to feel hopeful, that like, yeah, it's true. I don't get to do the things that I want to do right now, but I do have the ability to continue looking for answers and trying to heal. I do have the ability to hope for a better future. And, those don't sound like much, but when you don't have anything else, they're everything. Like, I think I really just became comfortable with the fact that my hope for the future, my hope for a better, healthier life later on was really all that I had. I really had nothing else except that. And I used to hate that I only had that. But once I learned to feel good about that, it really changed things for me. Yeah. Yeah, I've never talked about this before. I don't even think I've thought about this before. What I saw as this is so cliche, but what I saw as my biggest weakness in life suddenly became the focus of my life. What I used to lament over on a daily basis was something I rallied around. I said, okay, all I have to do is heal. My life is so simple right now. It's not easy. Life was not easy, but life is extremely simple. And it was all about every single day, how do I manage my energy the best? How do I not move backwards in my healing journey? What can I do to move forwards? And that was all I did. That was it. My entire life revolved around the healing journey and committing to it. And it's not easy, but it's definitely something that helped save me. It absolutely helped to save me. All right. If you guys have more questions around that, I totally understand. I don't think I've explained that super clearly. I don't think I've gotten detailed enough about it. So maybe through your questions, we can get more to the root of this. Or if this isn't resonating, if you disagree, if you have a different experience, let's hear it, let's talk about it. Okay, Lisa asked, do I know anything about biofeedback for ME/CFS, POTS, fibro, etc.? When you say biofeedback, are you talking about instances where we do something in the body and then we measure some sort of physical reaction to that thing and we use that to determine if it's good or not for us? Like, are you talking about muscle testing? Are you talking about like the pendulum, like asking yourself questions while holding a pendulum? Is that what you're talking about when you say biofeedback? Because that's one aspect of biofeedback. So I just want to get clear about your question, Lisa. Let's see, Anna, she feels like the problem is that her body needs contradicting things. All right, example, she needs more fats for her heart, but she gets stomach issues from it, or more fresh air from my head, but get a cold if she sits at the window. That does sound really, really hard. Lisa gets it. She says she needs sun, but heat sets off her POTS. Totally normal. Or she says like a hot bath is great for stiff muscles, but it's bad for POTS. Yeah, hot bath is just generally bad for people with severe chronic fatigue in general. We typically have pretty intense temperature intolerance. Anna says she tries to help her body because she knows that it needs her. It does. Let's see. Lisa, in the Facebook group, yeah, you can chat and bring up things. You can post your own comments. If you go to post, I just have it so that I need to approve the post, just because I want to make sure that things are like worded properly. Like Anna submitted a question the other day and I just sent it right through. It was great. I put the approval on there because it's such a sensitive topic. I just hate to accidentally let a troll in and they just start posting things. I've had that happen before, so I want to prevent that from happening, which is why I have the approvals. But feel free to post in the Facebook group. I want to read more about this conversation. It feels like there's more to it. Let's see. Okay, Lisa says when she pushed her 20-minute walk to 60 minutes and then crashed for 2 months. Yep. So, okay. So I think Lisa is saying that when she crashes, sometimes it's because she does something she knows she shouldn't have, like she walked too long. And also sometimes it just is coming out of the blue. Oh God, she drank 4 drinks and crashed for 2.5 months. That's so hard. But Lisa's going to Florida for her honeymoon, crash or not. That's great. Nika says, yay, Lisa. Oh, hi, Angela. All right, so back up a little bit when you're talking about, Anna says she feels like the problem is that her body needs contradicting things. For example, she needs more fats for her heart, but she gets stomach issues from it. Or she needs more fresh air for her head, but she gets a cold if she sits at a window. I think a lot of these things come down to dose. Like maybe when we were healthy, we could eat a certain amount of fats and be okay. And maybe you do need more fats for your heart. I don't know anything medically about what's going on. When you say fats, do you mean you need more saturated fats for your heart? Do you need more omega fatty acids for your heart? Because like those are two different things you can get in very different ways. Like if you need more saturated fats in your diet, then yeah, that's kind of a volume thing where you need to be eating more like animal fats and butter, and things like that. But if it's more that you need omega-3s, omega-6s, omega-9s, if eating really fatty fish like salmon, like ocean-caught salmon, is hard for you, then you can get that in pill form. And the pills can be a lot easier for some people to take and digest because of the delivery mechanism. So like I would say it comes down to dose, and it comes down to moderating the good things that we do for ourselves. For example, like to address these more, like you need fresh air for your head, but you get a cold if you sit at the window. What's a way to get fresh air into your home without you sitting in front of the window? Or maybe you get fresh air for 2 minutes and then stop getting fresh air, because maybe that's a healthy amount of fresh air without you getting a cold, right? So like, even though I know this kind of stuff used to seem ridiculous to me. I felt like an infant. I felt like such a baby who needed to be so careful about every single little thing in life because the stupidest little thing could set me off. But accepting that this is just where we're at and finding that dose of medicine versus poison, and realizing that it's going to be really different for almost everything than when we were healthy, is a really helpful thing to get your mind around. Being able to say that hot baths are good for joints, but it's really bad if you have heat intolerance. Okay, well, if some of your joints are really feeling that tight and sore and achy and all that, can you get some heating pads and just put heating pads over those parts of your body that need it most, and then find ways to cool down the rest of your body so your body doesn't feel overburdened managing with too much hot or too much cold, right? Let me think. Can I think of an example? I think the best example is walking. For a normal person, we can walk all day, and maybe we're a little tired at the end of the day or whatever, but we're fine. Whereas now we can only walk for 20 minutes, maybe 2 minutes. Maybe you can't walk. Maybe you're measuring how long you can sit up. Wherever you're at, you need to find that dose of okay, it is good for me to sit up when I can. I do want to use my muscles at least a little bit every now and then. But I don't want to overuse them and cause myself to go into a crash. Using that mindset and applying it to everything that's good for us, but also bad for us, is a really helpful one. Yeah, Anna, and you do, your body does need you. Our bodies need us and we need our bodies. It's a mutually beneficial relationship. It totally is. And our body's our partner. And to be there for our body when it's going through such a hard time is so critical. The same way you want someone to be there for you when you're going through this as a whole person. You want someone else to be there for you. Lisa says biofeedback. She doesn't know much about it. You hear about people talking about biofeedback for POTS, CFS, etc. Yeah, there's a little bit of that. I think as far as biofeedback, I've used in my own life. I've definitely been exposed to the muscle testing stuff, and you go to see an energy practitioner, and they're like, okay, hold this supplement, and we're going to do a muscle test on you, and depending on your muscle test response, that'll tell us if your body needs this supplement or not. And people use it as a way to get around doing blood work. That did not work for me at all, okay? I personally don't recommend that. I personally recommend absolutely getting blood work done instead to find out if you need a supplement. That being said, I do use biofeedback. Even today, I use it in my life where when I have a big decision to make, and I'm not sure which direction to go in, I will sit there and I will think about the outcomes. Like, if I make this decision and this is my outcome, how do I feel about that? And very often when I open my mind up to new possibilities and really think through multiple outcomes, at some point I'll find some outcome that leaves, but just suddenly, miraculously, my whole body just relaxes, right? I release a lot of tension and I fall into this place that feels like a yes, or like my own truth, or like, yes, that's what I want. And I use that type of biofeedback in decision making. I also use it to, when I try to understand what's going on with myself emotionally, like, hey, I reacted really intensely to that thing that happened the other day. What's going on for me? Is it this, or is it this, or is it this, or is it this? And eventually, usually, I'll say, oh, maybe it was this. And then I get that whole feeling of relaxation in my entire body. And I'm like, oh, that's what it was. Okay. And it's taken years of really getting in tune with my body for that little biofeedback technique to work for me. But it's something that does, I think, work really, really well for me nowadays. It's made my life so much happier than I ever was before I started using that technique. So that's the biofeedback I use. Maybe that'll work for you, maybe not. Anything beyond that, when you're this ill, I don't think should replace getting real tests done. Anna says, I know what you mean about life being so simple. I just thought some days ago about it, that your daily goals and problems are eating, sleeping, and observing your body. That is it, right? It is simple. Not easy, Anna, but it is very simple. And there is some sort of joy to be found in a simple life. A simple life is so rare and hard to come by in today's world. And even in life now, like, I'm launching this company, I'm really busy. There are definitely moments where I crave that simplicity again. And then I remind myself that I'm choosing this because this is what it takes to get my message out in the world and to do the work I feel called to do. It takes complexity. And I'm grateful that I have that in my life again. But when things are simple and you get to just focus on one thing, that's also a beautiful thing. Hi, Jamie. How's it going? Lisa says, salmon, tuna fish, good for heart and brain, but protein and fat need enzymes to digest. Use pineapples or digestive enzymes. That can help. On that topic, most people are not going to have this issue. One issue I have is I have chronically low stomach acid. So every meal for years and years now, I take hydrochloric acid pills to help me digest my food, and that's what I need. Some people need enzymes and things. I personally do better without the extra enzymes. Oh, Lisa, you're welcome. All right, Sword says, will living on a sailboat help fatigue? Generally, no, because living on a sailboat is very, very stimulating. Normally, you have a lot of weather you need to deal with. It can often be very hot if you're somewhere nice, which is usually why you're sailing. The motion of the boat can be exhausting for our bodies to deal with. The fact that you have to be very active and energetic on a boat because you're going up and down stairs all the time, sitting up on the deck, sailing the boat, then going downstairs, maybe go to the bathroom or to have a meal. It's very hard to get any true still rest on a boat unless you're in a situation where there's absolutely no wind, which is not a great time to sail anyway. So I would say no, it really wouldn't. Anna says, yep, feeling like a baby all the time. Yeah, because our needs, because we have so many needs. We're so needy when we're this ill. It's true. Hi, Angela. Yay, ask away. How long have I been good, not ill? Do I take any medicine or supplements? So I would say for the past 3 years, I think it's 3 years, I have had my life back. I have been working full time again, working out, planning my future, having a social life, all those great things. For about 3 years now, it's been great. That was after the first time I got ill and then 2 relapses. So I was ill 3 separate times. recovered each time, and finally figured out how to avoid the relapses. So yeah, I still take medication for my thyroid. I do have autoimmune hypothyroidism. And the good news there is that my antibodies have been getting better over the years. It's a very slow process, but it's great to see that positive change in helping my thyroid hormone and helping my thyroid get healthier. And I'll probably be on thyroid medication for the rest of my life because I have autoimmune hypothyroidism. It means that part of my thyroid organ has been damaged by my immune system. So because I don't have a fully functioning thyroid, I have just a partial thyroid, it isn't able to make all of the thyroid hormone that I need. And I'm okay with that. That's the great part of modern medicine. There are many not so great parts where they let us down repeatedly, but it does do a good job at some things. And yes, I do still take supplements, quite a few. At this point, I take supplements mostly for ongoing maintenance, to optimize certain things in my body. Like, for example, I just talked about I have to take these hydrochloric acid supplements with every single meal. So those are there. Because I have thyroid issues, I also take zinc every day. The right type of zinc for me at the right dose is really helpful for me. I also supplement with things that we can't get from our diet. Like, we just don't get enough iodine from our diets. So I supplement with iodine every day. I also take some things that my doctor recommends for general health. So I don't take a multivitamin. Most multivitamins are garbage. There are some good ones out there though, but you're not going to find them in your local pharmacy. I do take a multi-mineral. Minerals are something we're severely lacking in our bodies and in our diets today because our soils are so depleted. Because we don't use traditional farming methods where they regenerated the soil every season, we use industrial agriculture now where, sure, we use fertilizers, but fertilizers do not have the full spectrum of nutrients that truly healthy soils have by default. So the foods that we're eating just don't contain the minerals that they used to. So it's becoming increasingly necessary for people to supplement with minerals just to maintain base level health, which is really unfortunate. Magnesium's a big one. I don't supplement with magnesium, but I do a lot of Epsom salt baths. And then just like, there's a whole bunch of like trace minerals that are really important that we just don't get from our diets. So yeah, I do take supplements, but nothing, if I stop taking these supplements, there's nothing that will leave me feeling fatigued again. Like, I'm not taking any of these supplements because I need to for energy anymore. None of them are energy supplements. But I've just accepted that a healthy life for me is going to require at least one medication and some supplements for the rest of my life. And I'm cool with that because of how good it leaves me feeling. Doses, I'm not sure what that means. You are so right. They were always, doses, D-O-S-E-S, not D-O-S-I-S, okay. They were always your weakness because they always change. Yeah, the doses always change. So Anna's referring to when I was talking about giving ourselves the things we need, but then when we're really ill, the things that we need often also have negative side effects when in the wrong dose. So like we talked about, hot baths are good for achy joints, but it's really bad for people who have severe chronic fatigue or who have POTS. So like maybe you need to find the right dose of heat. Maybe you can get heating pads and just put them on the achy joints and let the rest of your body cool down so your body doesn't feel overburdened with having to process too much heat, right? So it's, and like getting fresh air is good, but for Anna, that she gets too much fresh air, she gets a cold. And that dose of how much fresh air you can get without getting a cold is probably small and could fluctuate with time. So it's really, really hard. But it's also really relevant to this medication and supplement conversation because the doses I need change often too. Like I supplement with vitamin C because I still have some detox issues I'm dealing with, and vitamin C helps my body detox, keeps me feeling healthier. But the dose of vitamin C I need changes with time. Sometimes I need more and sometimes I need less. Same with my thyroid hormone. I mean, there are absolutely times where I have gone hypothyroid again from taking the same level of medication because my body's needs change. I've had to take more. There have been times when I've had to cut my thyroid medication drastically down. There was one time in a 1 week span where I had to cut my thyroid medication 95%. I did cut it down 95%. That's how quickly and drastically my body changed in 1 week. It's just how it goes. Like, I could get upset about that and I could fight the fact and I could get really angry about it and I could feel bad about it and I could say it's not fair. But that's just me wasting time on heavy emotions when I just say, okay, that's how it is. I want to feel good, so I'm going to focus on what I have to do to feel good. And I just have to roll with it when my body's needs change and just be responsive to what it's telling me and change those doses and move on with my life. So that's what I do. Angela, no, I do not eat any special diet. I have tried so many diets over the years. And for me, a lot of what's been going on for me has not been diet driven. I have not needed a special diet to heal. Some people find some benefit if they eat low carb or high fat, or if they add more carbs in. Like, any diet out there, you're going to find a YouTube video of somebody somewhere saying it helped them cure their fatigue, right? I wouldn't believe any of those stories. I mean, maybe there's a couple out there that are real and true, but for most of us, it's not simply diet related. It just isn't. Diet can have an effect, but one thing that I do not see people taking into consideration is the cost of those really special diets. Those really special diets are really freaking hard. It takes a lot of effort and energy to plan for them, to figure out new recipes, to figure out how to cook this stuff, to figure out how to go grocery shopping. And then there's the emotional side of eating. Like, some of these diets just aren't as enjoyable. And it's stressful to have to learn something so quickly that's so new that we now have to implement 3 times a day, every single day. And we have these rules around what's good and what's bad and what's cheating. And it's very psychologically, emotionally, and physically stressful to be on these really hard diets. And I just don't see the benefits as worth the costs for people who are this ill, for most of us. If you have a strong suspicion there's something diet-wise going on, it's worth exploring that to figure out what's ideal for you. But always, it's like these doses, right? We've got to be aware of what we're getting out of something versus what we're putting in. And if it's costing us too much energy to do these special diets, more than they're helping us out, not worth it, right? Yeah, Lisa says she thinks the biofeedback she's thinking of is tense muscles, heart rate variability, and breathing patterns. I will look more into it. Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah, let me know. Lisa says yes to the hydrochloric acid. She had to take enzymes and hydrochloric acid for a while when she was first sick because she was reacting to foods, and it helped. It helps us digest things better. Absolutely. Angela says, have you heard about studies about anti-inflammation foods that is good if you have thyroid problems? Yeah, I've absolutely heard about anti-inflammation diets, paleo diets, no FODMAP diets. There's autoimmune paleo protocol that's supposed to be really great for reducing inflammation. I've heard of all of these things and I've tried them all. And for me personally, they did not really have much of any benefit, and they certainly weren't worth the energy that they took. I stayed on those diets for a long time because of all the benefits I read about, because I believed in those benefits so much that I thought it was worth to just keep doing it anyway, when in reality, I should have been evaluating my body's response to these diets, because the energy, what it cost me to stay on that diet was more than what I got out of it. And I really feel like doing those diets hurt me at a time when I couldn't afford to be hurt because I was already so sick. That's my take on it. If you want to try it, that's good for you. What's helped me with my thyroid is, like, I don't have a limited diet at all. I eat what I want when I want it. And that means I have some sugar every day. Like I just had like a little like tablespoon of raw cookie dough after lunch because I wanted to, you know. It's definitely not on the anti-inflammation diet, but that's a normal thing for me. And my thyroid antibodies are still going down because that's what works for my body, is tackling the other aspects of disease more than diet. Let's see. Lisa says black seed for thyroid. Yeah, I started taking black cumin seed. There's different black seeds, but I take black cumin seed for my thyroid. I haven't had any tests done since I started that, but my thyroid antibodies were going down before I ever took black cumin seed as well. So that wasn't necessary for me to start healing. Stupid GMO crops. I do agree with you on the stupid GMO crops, Lisa. I'm making a point to buy as much local, like beyond organic produce as I possibly can. Like living where I live, there's a lot of farmers around us who farm organically in the truest sense of the word. So there's like the accepted standard, the commercial standard for organic, which means you don't use certain pesticides and whatnot. But the commercial standard for organic really isn't that clean still. And there are farmers out there who farm traditionally in ways that are super clean and who do want to use the safest and smallest amounts of pesticides, herbicides, insecticides possible. And I do everything I can to buy as much of my produce from those farmers as I can. And luckily there's a company in Philadelphia here that makes it really easy for me to do that. They deliver all this beautiful farm fresh produce to me every week. Can't get any easier than that. But I know not everyone has access to that, so I don't talk too much about it. The anti-inflammation food is also good if you have pain or stiffness in your joints. Yeah, people who have arthritis or rheumatoid arthritis do tend to report more benefit from an anti-inflammatory diet than someone like I ever did. Lisa was on a special diet, expensive and hard, but she was reacting to foods. Yeah, so in that case, like the special diet was hard, but it was something that was giving her more benefit than it was costing her. In that case, it's worth it. She still can't eat lots of sugar and she can't tolerate MSG, but after time and getting enzymes from fruits and veg, she eats almost whatever. That's cool. That sounds like healing progress. Right? When your ability to eat more things has expanded and improved. And also with enzyme pills. Yeah, enzymes are something else. That's really hard. I don't know. I was going to talk about the body, like illness, and how it can sometimes interfere with the body's ability to produce its own enzymes. And sometimes that ability can come back, but also sometimes it doesn't. I just, I don't know enough about that topic. I'm not going to go there. Oh, and Lisa no longer has to take pills now. So yeah, sure, her body has healed itself, at least in that area, which is fantastic. Yep, the AIP, the autoimmune paleo protocol. Excuse me. Angela's been doing that for 3 months, and your pain and stiffness disappeared, and also your allergies for food, fur, and pollen. Okay, Angela, that's fantastic. I hope that maintains for you. Because if, it sounds like you're getting the benefit out of doing AIP. So in that case, keep on, because that's amazing. Lisa says, yeah, she has arthritis and she has to eat lots of fruits and veggies. On the fruits and veggies thing, I will say, I feel like I digest my food better and I just feel better in general if I eat some sort of raw fruit or vegetable with my meal. There's a lot of times where like I'll sit down and I'll have a meal and I'll be like, something's missing. I need something else. I'll be like, oh, I didn't have any raw veggies. And I will go grab like a half a cucumber, or I'll just go eat some lettuce out of the bag, or I'll go have some sprouts or something. But like, and there are enzymes present in the fruits and vegetables that we eat that get destroyed when we cook food. So like there are things in raw vegetables that do aid in digestion and give our bodies things that it needs. They're really important. Let's see, Angela, when she eats more paleo, the allergies come back. That's nuts. So clearly there's really something going on with your immune system, because clearly it's responding very strongly to very specific foods that you're eating. Which also means that you're probably aware of this, Angela, I'm just saying this for other people. It also means that there's probably like leaky gut happening. There's probably some really major gut issues happening with you, because normally our bodies don't really know which foods they're eating if the digestive system is doing its job, because the digestive system's job is to take the foods that we eat in, digest them down into the tiniest little components, it'll take the proteins. We shouldn't even be getting proteins into our bloodstream from our digestive tract. We should actually be getting protein that's been broken down into individual amino acids. We should only get individual amino acids into our bloodstream. We should only get like glucose and fructose and sucrose molecules into our bloodstream. We should get like base core minerals and vitamins into our bloodstream. But whenever we have specific reactivity to foods, it means that there's some larger piece of that food getting into our bloodstream. When I say larger piece, it's still some microscopic piece, but it's a whole protein instead of a digested protein getting through. And that whole protein is seen as a foreign invader in our body because it doesn't have a purpose. It's not supposed to be getting into our bloodstream from a digestive tract when we have a whole protein in there. And the antibodies formed against that protein start to proliferate the more often we eat that food. And I don't want to get super deep into this, but whenever we eat that food again, it crosses the barrier from our digestive system into our bloodstream when it shouldn't. Our antibodies run into it again and say, hey, I know this thing. It is a foreign object. We need to get rid of it. You have that immune flare, right? And in your case, those symptoms are like achy joints and pain. So if you're having that specific reaction to foods, it means that things are crossing the digestive system barrier that shouldn't be. So maybe I'll just ask you, are you doing anything additional to address your gut health? Because once your gut heals itself enough, once the gut heals to the point where it's not letting larger pieces of food through, then those allergies and reactivities should slow down and eventually go away and stop. And there's definitely a lot of personal stories of people who have been very sensitive to foods and things when they're very ill, who have stopped being so sensitive to those things once they've healed. Oh, Lisa can eat cookies and cheeseburgers now. That's a win. Yay, Lisa. Cookies and cheeseburgers. I'm serious. I think it's great. For Angela, AIP is too strict. You don't get everything. You see it as eliminating food. You kind of start over and then you introduce one food at a time. Yes. Yeah, so you get the elimination phase of the diet, and then you get the reintroduction phase of the diet as well. All right, so Angela's already seeing some healing happening. This is so cool. You were allergic to some foods, which you can eat now, like eggs and yogurt. You used not to be able to eat eggs and yogurt, and now you can. Those are signs of healing. That means you're doing some of the right things for your body. It means you found some of the answers that you need. Probably not the only answers you need, but hey, some is better than none, right? That's awesome. Lisa, she's like, I'm not kidding. First year sick, I could not eat pizza without a huge flare in symptoms, and now she can. This is so great, ladies. We need to cherish these wins of being able to eat foods again, because they are signs that our body is healing. Our body is restoring itself, even when we don't feel like it is, because there's still these other massive symptoms. Oh, these little wins are still wins. Anna says, a question I wanted to ask a while ago, but forgot. Can you push too little? Should we only do things when we really feel the energy for it? Or is it good to push a little bit, even if it feels hard? So Anna, this is a good question and a very nuanced one. So pushing too little. So here's the thing. How are we going to define push? So I'm going to say we're pushing when we're doing more than our bodies have the ability to do without a crash, okay? I'm gonna say we're only pushing when we know we're working ourselves into a crash. If we are doing an activity that is not going to lead to a crash, I don't consider that pushing. I just consider that being, right? And when I use those definitions, I would say you can never push too little. I would say that every time you put yourself into a crash, you are sending your healing journey backwards. All right. What we do want to do is we do want to move ourselves as much as we can without crashing. So, like, we want to find that upper limit of activity that we can do without crashing. And we want to do that. And, you know, as we talked about earlier, that fluctuates. Some days we can do less and some days we can do more. But we always want to avoid crashes, with the exception of those rare instances in life when it's worth the crash. Day to day, we should be doing everything we can to avoid a crash while also doing as much as we can, if that makes sense. Because by always doing that upper limit of activity without crashing, we're keeping ourselves as active as we can be. We're keeping ourselves as active as we can for our health, because it is healthy to be a little more active in general. But in our case, being too active is extremely detrimental. So do some, do just enough, don't do too much. It's a simple way of putting it. That's what I would say. Because actually, just to touch on that for a minute longer, there's this fear a lot of people have of like, oh, I'm going to become deconditioned. My muscles are going to become too weak. Oh, that's really unhealthy. And that's true. It is true that when our muscles decondition, we become less fit, and it can lead to us being less healthy. But in the hierarchy of problems we have to worry about, worrying about your muscles deconditioning is way down here, when worrying about recovering from severe chronic fatigue is way up here, right? This is way more limiting and impactful and unhealthy than deconditioned muscles. And some people think that like deconditioned muscles will contribute to this, and I just don't think that's the case. We got sick before we had deconditioned muscles. All right. It's easy and simple to recondition muscles once we have our health back, once we have our energy back. Reconditioning muscles is not super hard to do once you have your energy. It's just like the importance, the priority is just so different. I wouldn't worry about your muscles deconditioning. Lisa says she thinks that we can push too little when you flare up and you have tested. When I flare up and have tested. I'm not sure what she means by that. So Angela says it has been better to some point. I mean, if you can eat foods that you couldn't eat before, that is some degree of progress. Some degree of healing has happened in your body. Lisa makes it a point to push a little one day and see what happens. That's a tricky slope, Lisa, because, oh man, I mean, like, I should say, like, as much as we want to like do as much as we can without crashing, every now and then we're going to misjudge it, and we are going to do too much, and we are going to crash. Crashes are going to happen, and we just have to kind of accept that. But it's a tricky slope to be like, well, am I really this limited? Can I maybe do a little more? And then you crash. And I think it's a balancing act of like going through that experience a bunch of times and figuring out for yourself what's right, and which little tests of your energy are worth it. And big picture, long term, are you helping yourself more, or are you hurting yourself more when you test and crash? How critical is it for you to avoid that crash? Oh, Angela, you've been sick since 2002, so you don't expect any quick fix. You think it needs some time. It does. You're right. It's good to have that realistic expectation. Let's see. Lisa says, if I have already crashed and you have rested, then you will push just a little bit one day and see what happens. Hi, Sir Nigel Gilmore. Lisa says deconditioned. Ha, suck it, doctors. I know, right? Freaking doctors. We have Charlie Balding. Hello. Hello, hello. All right, we're close to an hour right now. Do we have any more questions for today? Do we want to continue on any of these threads we've started today? I know there's a few conversations we got going. I don't know who Michaela Peterson is. Let's see. Low carb down under, don't eat that. Oh, she was on Joe Rogan Experience. The Lion Diet. Michaela Peterson, CEO of the Lion Diet. Kill yourself with diet. Take back your life. All right, so this looks like a carnivore diet. All right, it's going to take me some time to fully investigate this. She's promoting a carnivore diet. I can't comment on Michaela Peterson, the person, because I just learned of her just now, so I don't have any opinions. She's promoting a carnivore diet. It's the kind of thing where you need to try it and see if it works for you. Like any and every diet, you just need to try and see if it works for you. If you have a hunch that it will, go for it. The only way we're going to know if any diet works for any individual is if they try it. I don't know of anything that has reliably predicted the ideal diet for a person based on blood work or an assessment or anything like that. I know they have like the blood type diet, but that's been largely debunked at this point. So try it and see if it works for you. Do you get more benefit than it takes for you to stick to a carnivore diet? I don't know. If you eat a lot of liver, they're calling it the dinosaur diet. If you eat a lot of liver, you're going to get a ton of micronutrients, and that could be good for you, but you also don't want to eat too much liver because that's also bad for you, of course. Doses, like we've been talking about today, are really important. Yeah, I agree with Angela. There isn't one diet for everybody. There's not one ideal human diet. It comes down to the person. It also comes down to the stage of their life that they're at. Like, Angela, maybe this AIP was really great for you for 3 months. Maybe it's really good for you right now, but that doesn't mean it's going to be good for you your entire life. Your needs could change, and they probably will, and that's okay. All right. She's telling everyone to eat only beef, salt, and water. That does sound pretty freaking crazy. There are, what was it? There was like the Maasai people, Masai people, who eat like almost only like beef and blood and milk. And they are really healthy, but they also have a very traditional lifestyle. And they get a lot of micronutrients because they're eating the whole animal. There are ways you can do it for health, but maybe a little bit of genetic predisposition is going to help with that one too. Let's see. Lisa says some people with Lyme are allergic to meat. That's really unfortunate. Ew, Sir Nigel, that is terrible. Absolutely terrible. All right. So, okay, we're over an hour. I do have a business meeting coming up in a little bit I have to prep for. So I'm going to go. Interesting, Lisa. Eating low oxalate foods because you make kidney stones. Oh, Angela, the blue zones. The blue zones, real quick for anyone who doesn't know, those are the zones in the world that have the longest lived people. They have the highest concentration of long-lived people, the highest concentration of centenarians. They eat very differently, but they're all very healthy and old. Yeah, there is no one diet for long life. It's your entire lifestyle plays into how long you're going to live, not just your diet. So quick reminder, there is the Facebook group that's going to be in the description of this video once it posts. I invite you to come join that private Facebook group. It's a place where we can connect more often throughout the week. Like Lisa asked earlier, yes, you're free to just post questions there. We can have conversations there more than just on Thursdays, right? If you enjoyed this video and you know someone else who could benefit from it, then I ask you to share it with them. I would love to reach more people with my message. Other than that, I send all of you so much love and health, and I am looking forward to doing this again next week. All right, take care so much. Love you guys. Bye.